Good morning. It is Friday. I am saying that to help remind everyone what day of the week it is, because if you're like me, some of that stuff is starting to get a bit fuzzy. I'm also saying that because it means that we get a pseudo break. I know that the weekend will not be the way that the weekend normally is, but there's a break from online schooling, there's a break from other things, and we just, knowing that it's Friday just makes people happy. So I'm happy that it's Friday. I hope you all are also happy that it's Friday. So what I was planning on talking about today was how to help children cope. I particularly come at this from the perspective of children with autism, but really all children. I think that sometimes a child with autism, they don't really get stressed out more easily than other children. They're just not good at hiding it. So if you have a child with autism in your home, and that child is having a really hard time, chances are everyone else in that home is having a hard time. It's just that the rest of us are better at pretending that everything is normal. So we all need this stuff right now. What I'm going to do is just highlight a couple, well, not a couple. There's a lot of different reasons kids are stressed out these days. I think I came up with 7. So I will describe this reason why a child is stressed out, or why your child might be stressed out right now, and then some solutions for that, and then move on to another one. So first of all, number 1, no contact with teachers, no closure. At first I was really wondering why my children were missing their teachers so much. They're used to saying goodbye to teachers. They're used to not having teachers around all the time. And summer break is a lot longer than what we're currently going through, and that doesn't bother them. But I realized that those last 2 weeks of school, which I'll be honest, sometimes I think are a little, almost a waste of time. It's a bunch of parties, they're cleaning the classroom, there's all these ceremonies. Part of me just thinks, gosh, why don't we just end this a week early? Why am I sending my kid to school to just watch movies in their pajamas? But this situation has really highlighted to me how important those weeks are. Those weeks are ritual, are closure. It's a way to say, we are ending this. This was important to everybody involved, and we're ending it, we're saying goodbye, and we know, and we are moving on to something new. And the kids didn't have that. They left school on a Thursday thinking everything was normal, and boom, now there's nothing. Or there is something, it's just not like anything they're used to. So I think that sense of loss, really the best way to help a kid manage that is just knowing that they're going to need some extra connection time with you. For the little children, that means snuggles, which is kind of easy, sort of. When you are anxious yourself, it's hard to make yourself sit and watch the same episodes of Team Umizoomi or Daniel Tiger that you've watched 20 times already. But sitting on the couch, snuggling with your children for about 20 or 30 minutes really provides that physical reassurance. No, I am still taken care of. I am still loved, even when a major attachment figure, my classroom teacher, has disappeared. Mommy is here, or daddy is here, or grandma is here. And saying I'm here for you is not the same thing as physically feeling it. So spend that extra time. For older children, it's a little bit trickier, but most of the time for older kids, shared activities, letting your child ramble on about Pokemon or whatever their favorite thing is, and really trying to listen, which I know is hard. That sort of thing can provide that same level of connection and emotional stability. So, number 2, they're missing their friends. A couple of nights ago, my 10-year-old just couldn't stop talking about the Marvel comic book series stuff. All kinds of random theories about Nick Fury and hidden jokes. I've watched these movies, and there's a lot of these things I had never noticed, but of course my 10-year-old son noticed, and just couldn't stop talking. And I was like, what is going on with him? He's normally a talker, but not like this. And I realized, oh my goodness, he hasn't had any of his like silly peer time. So I texted one of the moms, and we got them hooked up on Google Meet, and he spent like an hour and a half. I don't even know. I think they were talking about memes and making silly faces at each other. I don't know. It was a bunch of silliness. But you know what? After that, my talkative son is still talkative, but it went back to the kind of like baseline. And I didn't notice how much he needed that. My 7-year-old, I found her curled up with the cat crying the other day. And she's not my verbal one, so I also couldn't quite figure it out. But when I figured it out with the oldest, I thought, I bet she's missing her peers too. And so, again, I texted one of the mom friends and set them up, and she's been a lot happier after that. So this is going to be something that I'm really going to make a point to do, is their peer time. Sure, they're not lonely because I have 4 children, so they've all been playing together, but that's not the same thing as hanging out with your best friend. So then the teenagers really need peer time. So indulge them in a little bit of extra chat time with their friends. It'll make all the difference in the world. So there's been a lot of memes on my Facebook about how hard it is to be a homeschool parent, that we weren't trained to be teachers, and now all of a sudden us parents are expecting to be teachers. Well, guess what? Your children don't know how to be homeschool children. They're having to learn independently all of a sudden, and that's not easy. So that's another major stressor for them. And there are just a couple of things that I recommend for that. One is reduce the pressure on grades. So if you normally expect A's, if a couple of the worksheets end up being B's, so be it. I recommend having some time limits on school. One of the hard things about working from home is never getting to leave work. Well, if your kid never feels like they can leave school, because every time there's a break, you're like, hey, wait, do this worksheet, or make sure you read another book, they're going to feel trapped. So keep schoolwork contained. Maybe you keep it contained where schoolwork all happens at a certain place in the house. Or maybe you set timers and you say, we're going to do this for 1 hour, and then you take a break, then you do another hour. And then when it's done, and you don't talk about it again until the next day. I also recommend that you frequently remind them that doing schoolwork at home means not doing summer school, or not having to repeat this grade. That might help their motivation. Helping them understand the why. We kind of get the why, but these things aren't obvious to children. And then a sense of accomplishment. So much of school has a sense of accomplishment built into it. You get grades back. You turn something in, and the teacher looks at you and smiles and says thank you. You get a reading break or some Chromebook fun time when you finished something. You, for the younger kids, every time they read an AR book, they color in like a petal on a flower or something. Well, there's a lot less of that in homeschool. And so your children probably need some extra things to feel good about, to feel accomplished about. One of the things that I've done is I've assigned some small, easy chores every day. I had my 7-year-old sweep the kitchen, and it's normally a nightly chore. I've kind of taken it away from her because I know that she's been under extra stress. So now it was a yesterday thing. And when I came home, I told her how impressed I was about how good the kitchen looked, and she beamed. Like, that was really important to her. The 4-year-old swept the back porch. I'm not sure what it'll be for your child. And creative tasks are very nice for the same thing. Painting a picture, you see it beautiful when you're done. Art is wonderful for a sense of accomplishment. Number 4, the thing that is difficult for your children right now is that feeling of being stuck. Maybe you didn't have a super social kid to start out with. If you had a super social kid, then it's really hard. But I promise you that there is something your child is missing right now. I've had a lot of kids complain to me that they're not getting to go to their favorite restaurants, that they miss seeing their cousins or their grandparents, they miss play gyms, they might even miss therapy appointments, not necessarily with me, but with a speech therapist or horse therapy or something. There is a real sense of loss to not being able to do those things as well. So I recommend finding those new fun activities. I'm going to be posting some resources along with this video. One of the things that my children love to do is messy things with food. Excuse me, that's allergies, not COVID. Excuse me. So, for example, we bake a cake, cut it into 4 bits, and then the rule is that you eat the cake, but you can't use a fork. We do it outside, and the children love it. It is like urban air levels of fun, being allowed to eat a cake with your hands. It's amazing how breaking those little rules feels so exciting to a kid. The parks are pretty empty these days. Maybe you don't want to go to the jungle gym equipment because of fear of contamination, but you can still run around the field. Driving around town this morning, I saw families playing tennis together. They were the only people at the Y tennis. Very, very safe social distancing. Get takeout from a restaurant and eat it somewhere outside. There are ways to still have some of those fun outside of the home activities, but in a new way. The more everyone feels trapped to the 4 walls of your home, the more crazy everyone is going to go. Sort of tying in with that, number 5 is that routines are off. I am a very routine-based person. It's not hard for me to keep a schedule. But my family life has been totally off schedule lately because I'm stressed out and everything is different. And the other night, my husband says, "Why are the children not in bed?" I'm like, "Well, it's not time yet." It was. That doesn't happen to me. I have an internal clock that is as good as like NASA's, but I forgot bedtime. That's how insane life has gotten. And when you don't have the regular routines of errands and activities and school, things just start falling apart. So I really recommend that now that we're about 2 weeks in, try to start establishing some routines again. It might be something as simple as using a timer, set new timers on your phone, timers to help your children know, okay, in 5 minutes, we're going to have to stop the TV and start school. When the timer rings, we have to clean up. I don't know what will work for you, but something to help keep everyone on track will go a long way. Number 6, canceled events. There is great mourning for me, I'm sure for you, for your children, for all of the fun spring activities that are now getting canceled. Prom. I don't have children old enough for prom, but the idea that there will be no prom just hurts. Graduations, parades, festivals, things that we've all been looking forward to for months. Special end of the year field trips that just aren't going to happen now. You can't replace all of them. There's no way to replace a field trip to NASA. But some of the things you can kind of sort of replace. And it's better than nothing. So like for prom, on prom day, go ahead and have your kids dress up. Put on the makeup, do the hair, do the dress, and then maybe do a fashion show or a FaceTime dance party, or maybe the best friend that they've kind of been sneaking around to see this whole time, and I'm sure some of your teenagers have done that. It's okay, I won't tell. Maybe that best friend could come over with her prom dress, and they can do a photo shoot and a dance party together. Because everyone knows the photos are almost as important as the actual dance, right? So get the photos, even if there's no dance. Do some of the things, at least. And then finally, the last but not least, having a stressed out and or anxious parent is another major stressor. Children can't do well when the most important person in their life isn't doing well. And then to make things even harder, some parents have had to make the very difficult decision to stop seeing their children. Like my husband and other people who are in the medical profession, I know, have made the decision to stop being around their children because they can't stop working. There's a duty to work, a duty to take care of patients, but also a desire to protect their children. It's heartbreaking to not be able to be with family members during this difficult time. And some of that can't be avoided. But, again, maybe we can find some small ways around it. For example, when my husband leaves for work every day, the children all go to the back porch and we stay on the steps. Daddy stays a good 6 to 8 feet away, and we do our goodbyes. And the only missing part is the hugs, but we blow kisses to each other, we say goodbye, we tell Daddy what we're going to do that day, and Daddy says he'll be home from work, and it's not the best, but it's better than nothing. It's better than Daddy just disappears and we never see him again. It maintains a sense of routine and connection. So we'll make it through. This new terrible normal will become a slightly less terrible normal the more we get used to it. We'll all have some meltdowns. I won't pretend I haven't. I cried the other night when I heard my daughter listen to her teacher's bedtime story 3 times, especially when her teacher said how much she was missing her. It makes me sad now. All of the losses also fast is really hard to cope with. And I won't pretend that that's not true. But at the same time, if we just let ourselves sink into the terribleness, it really will be terrible. If we are able to focus on the things that we can do and the small blessings, being able to spend more one-on-one time with our families, being able to slow down and appreciate the small things, the intense feeling of community I got when I picked up a dozen bagels from our local bagel place, knowing that I was helping that business survive just a little bit longer. I don't normally feel so proud buying bagels. But I did this time, because I'm being good for my community by buying bagels. And now I have these delicious fresh bagels to eat. Those are the small blessings. And the more we can hold on to those, the better everything will be. So I'm thinking of all of you. Please send prayers or happy thoughts or whatever good vibes you want to my way, and I'll send them to you. I'll be checking in again in another couple days.